DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com, WorkOnYourGame.com. I want to explain this concept of the 5 levels of expertise. I talked about this I think I did an Instagram live on this, and I also did a podcast episode on it. But I want to explain it here with the whiteboard because I can give you a visual of it, because I think this is very important for all of you who are sales people. If you're a thought leader, if you're a person who wants to sell your intellectual property, which we call thought leadership, or you would just call it selling intellectual property. Some of you call it consulting, coaching, teaching, whatever you want to call it. If you're taking knowledge out of your head and you want to sell it and make money from it and build a business around it, even if it's a side hustle, you need to understand these 5 levels of expertise, because this will tell you exactly where you're at. And I'm not only going to tell you what the levels are, I'm going to give you some examples of each level, and also I'm going to tell you what skill you need in order to be at certain levels and how you can identify who's at what level, and also identify what level you're at yourself. So let's get right to it. 5 levels of expertise. First level, actually there is a level 0 that we want to talk about, which is a level of doing nothing. So I'm assuming that you're doing something. So level 1 is a level of consumer. That means you are consuming information. Right now, at this exact moment while you're watching this video, you are a consumer of information. Now, what we're talking about here, and a bigger picture idea, is where you spend most of your time. But all of us consume information. I consume information. I was on a coaching call earlier today as a listener. I was also on a coaching call as a consultant, as the person who was selling the training. I also was on it when I was the buyer of the training. So we all consume stuff. We all watch videos and read books and look at podcast episodes. So this level is the level of consumer. That means you spend the majority of your time consuming information. I had somebody reach out to me not too long ago. Actually, this happens often. I had somebody I had posted something. What was I talking about? I said something on maybe an episode of my podcast, and somebody sent me a text, and I have a text message line, which is 305-384-6894. You text me to get my daily motivation every day. But I sent the podcast episode out talking about something, and some college student reached out to me, and they were basically rebutting something that I said, and they were telling me, well, I'm a college student and I study this subject, and they were giving me their ideas of what they thought as a counterpoint to what I had said on my podcast. And I actually thought about this 5 levels of expertise when I was reading their text, because they are merely a consumer. All right. They are not at my level of expertise. So even though they think they know something, they don't really know anything. And I'll explain that in a minute. When you are merely a consumer, that means you're doing something like you're a student. You are in college, or you're in college or lower, where you are paying money to other people, or you're paying with your time to other people to consume information, but you're not doing anything else. Or you become a PIG, which I call professional information gatherer, which many of you are, and I know you know who you are if you're doing this. This is the level 1 of expertise. All you're doing is consuming, but you're not doing any of the other levels. So college students who are watching this right now, this is not a bad thing. Everybody has to start somewhere. You are at level 1 of the levels of expertise. You don't really have any expertise when all you're doing is consuming information. Just because you read a book, or you took a class, or even if you passed the class, even if you have a diploma or a degree that says you know this subject very well. I have a degree, doesn't mean anything. When I was in college, I thought I was really smart too, because I was going to class every day and learning new information every single day and reading these books, and I'm around all these other people who are learning stuff, and we all thought we were really smart until I went out into the real world and I found out that I didn't know shit. So all you college students out there, you don't know anything. You think you know something, you don't know anything. All you are is a consumer. And again, I was one at one point as well. So it's not a knock on you. I'm just letting you know where you stand. You are just a consumer. You are a student or a professional information gatherer. Number 1 thing you need to be a consumer is desire. You need desire to learn. It is a good thing when you have a desire to learn. Or if you're in college, you have friends who are not in college who are your age. Of course you do. So not everybody even wants to get more information. I mean, they call universities and colleges institutions of higher learning. I don't think they're actually living up to that ideal, some of them these days, but y'all get the point. You want to learn, which is a good thing. So you have to start somewhere. You are a consumer. Level 2 of the levels of expertise is when you actually start doing something with the knowledge that you have. So let's just take that college student. I can even use myself. When you get out of school, then you go out and hopefully you get yourself a job and you start applying some of the knowledge that you learned in college. Maybe you get a job in your area of degree study, or maybe you don't. I've been talking a lot today. So that is when you go and start doing things. So this is when you're an apprentice, or you're an intern, or you're a trainee, or you could just be a regular full-time employee, but you are out there actually applying the information that you learned somewhere. Wherever you learn the information, you're actually applying it. And sometimes you don't have to spend that much time consuming. You could just jump straight into the doing. This is a person who didn't even go to college. Let's say you dropped out of high school. You just go get yourself a job in some tech field. You just start doing stuff. Like, man, at some point you got to learn, right? You had to be a trainee. Somebody has to train you on the job. You're an intern. You're an apprentice. You're doing the stuff, okay? So this is the second level of expertise, is when you can actually do it. Number one trait you need in order to get to the number two level of expertise is you need the trait of application. I don't mean application like applying for a job. I mean application like you take the things that you know, or at least you think you know, and you actually start doing stuff to prove that you know it. Okay, so I taught you something, now go do it. All right, I taught you that, now go do this. I taught you that, now go do this. My first job out of college, I was working at Foot Locker as an assistant manager. So I had been a consumer in college because I wasn't getting any money for doing this. Then I got a job at Foot Locker, and now I started doing stuff. The manager trained me. I was a trainee. They trained me on how to work the register and how to talk to the customers and how to plug this in. If somebody has a discount, push this button in. Somebody wants a pair of sneakers, here's how to find it in the back room. So I was applying all the information that I was being taught, and I was actually doing it. Okay, so this is the second level of expertise. This is a level that if you're a student, you're here. This is a level of having a job. All right, people who have a job are pretty much at this level right here. They are doing the thing. They have knowledge. They apprentice, they intern, they got trained, they have a job, they're doing it. If you do not advance past having a job, you work a 9 to 5 job and you just go to work, do your job, you clock in and you clock out, and that's all you do, and you get a check every 2 weeks, you're at level 2 of expertise. You're just doing. Okay. And there's not a knock on this. Okay. Everybody has to be somewhere, everybody has to live somewhere. Not every level is for everybody. Not everyone needs to ascend to the highest level of this, but this is the level of having a 9 to 5 job. So people who go to work, they clock in, they leave, and that's pretty much what they do. That's these people right here. Level 3 of the levels of expertise are, this is when we start getting into the thought leadership space, is around level 3. This is when you can start teaching the things. Okay. And what I tell people all the time, especially people at the consumer level, like college students who think they're smart because they've been reading books and listening to teachers talk from the front of the room, this is where your teachers are at. Your teachers live at level 3. All right, a teacher is a person who can teach knowledge. Not only do they have it and they can apply it, but they actually can teach it to another person. Now, a college professor is a little bit different situation, because sometimes you have college professors and teachers in schools teaching subjects in which they have never done anything. So they actually jump to level 3 without ever doing level 2. For example, this is like a college professor who's teaching science class, but they're not a scientist. Like you couldn't put them in a chemistry lab and have them do any real science that's going to affect real human lives. They wouldn't know what to do. But they can teach the information that's in the science textbook, and they can grade your papers based on whether you got the questions right or not. So it's a little bit tricky when you talk about school teachers here, because they jump past level 2. All they're doing is teaching. They basically were a consumer. They went to school and they got a degree that says this person has an education degree, and then they just pick a subject, or they're handed a subject. I don't know exactly how it works in schools. Then they start teaching a subject in which they may not be an expert. So, for example, when you go to school, high school, for example, right? Your history teacher in high school doesn't have to be a certified historian, or your science teacher, again, doesn't have to be an actual scientist, or your math teacher doesn't have to be a mathematician, or your gym teacher doesn't have to be an athlete, or however they do it. You get what I'm saying here? Is that some people can teach a subject in which they have never actually done the thing. This is right here, this conflict right here, that you have people teaching things that they have never actually done, is the conflict of the American educational system. This right here, people teaching stuff that they've never actually done, because who knows if they even know what they're talking about. Now, one thing that we can understand is that in the educational system we have here in America, is that all the teachers are teaching is what's in the textbook, or what's going to be on the exam, like the statewide tests, if we're talking about high school and below. And then in college is whatever they want to put on the exam, however they're doing that. Every college is a little bit, they have a little bit more freedom to kind of do things how they want to do it. But I think all of you get the general point that I'm making here, is that sometimes you have teachers who are not experts in anything, because what they do, they went to school, graduated, they went from this level right here as a consumer, they got a degree that says this person is capable of doing, and then they got a job teaching a subject in which they never did anything. They went straight from school to working as a teacher. So what they do? They didn't do anything. All they did was learn. And again, all the teachers out there, is not a knock on you. I got a lot of teachers who are friends of mine, a lot of teachers in my audience. I got teachers in my family. This is not a knock on teachers. This is not going to American educational system, because not your fault, teacher, that the system is the system. You're playing the game the way the game is supposed to be played. But this system is flawed because you got people teaching shit they never even did. So this is the level, this is the third level of expertise, is when you can actually teach something. I tell people, you don't know something until you have actually done it, and you don't really know it until you can teach it. Or you really know something when you can teach another person how to do it. And here's the key, they can get the same results that you got. All right, that's the key right there. You can teach someone to get the same results that you got. So whatever your outcome was, you can teach someone else to get that outcome. I, for example, these days as an entrepreneur, I sell my knowledge and expertise, but also I am a consumer to where I pay other people. I pay coaches. I join coaching programs. I join programs. And what do I do in those programs? The reason that I pay those programs is because those people's promise is that, Dre, we will teach you how to get this outcome. Here's the outcome that we've created. Here's all the people we've helped get this outcome. If you pay us this much money, we'll show you how to plug in your stuff, and you get the same outcome that these other people got. And if I believe them, I pay them so I can get the same outcome that they got. That's the level of teaching. That means not only do you understand it, you have done it yourself, and you can teach other people how to do it. And when you can duplicatively teach other people how to produce a specific outcome and you can articulate it, that's when you become a salesperson. Okay, that's all sales is. I can tell you how to do this. Let's say I was a personal trainer. I help these 30 people over here lose 30 pounds each in 1 year. And I can help you lose 30 pounds too. All you got to do is pay me for my personal training for 6 months. That's the teaching level. Everybody got it? It's when you can show someone else how to produce a specific result. An example of this is someone who's producing content. Right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm producing content right now. I'm not charging you for this. What I'm doing, this actual action I'm doing right now, is a level 3 of expertise, because I'm teaching you something. I'm helping you understand these levels, and it's a form of content. The key to being able to teach it right here, this is when everything changes, is when you develop the communication skill to explain what you know. This right here is the key. If I had to take everything that's on this list and I had to give you one thing you need to master, if you have not yet mastered it, it is this right here. It is the skill of communication. Your ability to take what you know, communicate to other people that you know it, communicate that you have done it so that they believe you. And then the next step is you be able to turn this into revenue and turn it into business. Well, we're going to get to that when we get to levels 4 and 5. But this is where everything changes. This is the inflection point right here, is level 3. Okay, so if you want to go from being on the sideline to being in the game, the level that you need to pay attention to right here is this level right here, level 3. When you get in the game, that's when you get to level 3, when you can start teaching other people what you know. Not just doing it for yourself, but teaching other people. Everybody with me so far? Good. Next level, level 4. All right, this is when we get to the money. This is when we get into the business. This is when you can become an entrepreneur. This is when you can start to write your own check. This is when you can start to create your own destiny, is when you get to level 4 of the 5 levels of expertise. There's a level of selling. And this is selling, meaning you go to them. And there are 2 levels of selling. Level 4 is level when you go to them. For example, what's an example of you going to them? That's advertising. Or if you use Instagram or Facebook, maybe you've seen some of my advertising on Instagram or Facebook. And if you're watching this video, you may be interested in the same things that I talk about. So maybe you've seen my ads at some point. Any kind of marketing. All of this stuff is selling when you go to them. That means I am going to interrupt you from whatever you got going on. I'm going to let you know, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I got to offer. Here's why you should go to my webpage and check it out. Here's why you should go buy it. Here's why you should give me $100 or $300 or $500 or whatever it costs to buy the thing that I'm selling. All right, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm coming to you and letting you know that I have something to sell. That is this level right here. And there's nothing wrong with doing this. Actually, this is how every entrepreneur gets started, is you must have something. You got to have consumed it, so you have the knowledge. You have done it, because now you got to have the proof and the ability to actually execute. You can communicate and teach it. Now you're going out and letting people know all these things. I've done it. I understand it. I've done it. I can teach it. And now you should pay me for it. Got it? I understand it. I've done it. I can teach it. Now you pay me for it. That is this level right here. You are going to them. You have to go to people and let them know. Because if you don't tell them, how would they know that you even exist? Let alone would they know that you can help them? Let alone would they know that you have something for sale? So you have to go to people. And sometimes you got to do this over and over again before they buy. How many of you have bought a product, but you looked at the ad, or you heard about it, or you read like an email about it probably 50 times before you actually took action? Very rarely do we buy something the first time that we hear about it. So if you're at level 4 of the 5 levels of expertise, Understand that you have to give your message to your audience over and over and over and over and over again before they actually take action. Most people do not take action on things the first time that they hear it. We take action on things like the 12th time that we hear it. The first 5 or 6 times we hear things, studies have shown, we don't even notice them. We don't even notice an advertisement the first 5 or 6 times we're exposed to it. We don't even notice that it happened. Our brain completely deletes it. Around the 7th or 8th time, we actually notice the ad. Around the 9th or 10th time, we actually listen to or read the ad. And around time 11 or 12, we actually pay attention and decide, should I pay attention to this again or should I not? Should I take action on this or should I not? Should I click on the link? Should I think about buying it? Should I save this for later when I got some money or whatever it's going to be? It takes many, many, many times we have to hear the same message before we take action on things. So understand, when you're at level 4, you don't tell people things one time. You tell them over and over and over again, and you never stop telling them, because they will forget, because their lives are not prioritizing you and your stuff. They're prioritizing themselves. So you have to tell them over and over again before they ever even notice what you are doing. Selling, you go to them. This is level 4 of expertise. So the key skill to be at level 4 of expertise is you must ask for the money. If you want to be at level 4, you must ask for the money. And this seems very trite. For those of you who are salespeople and you're a seasoned salesperson and you've closed sales before, I'm talking nose to nose, belly to belly, like you sat in front of a person in person and you've said, this is what I got, here's how much it costs, and you asked for the money and they gave it to you. Those of you who have done that before, and there's not, and what's funny is the people who have done this are actually dying out, because we got the internet now, and a lot of people have never done face-to-face in-person sales. I'm talking about in the flesh humans. I'm not talking about on the phone or the internet, not on Zoom. I'm talking about in-person selling. There are fewer and fewer people who have actually done it. You got to have this ability. It doesn't mean you got to do it in person. You can sell over Zoom. It's fine to sell over Zoom if you want to, but if you sold in person, then selling over Zoom is easy. If you never sold in person, then selling over Zoom can be a challenge. Many people may have the communication skills to teach something, but they do not have the courage to ask for money in exchange for it. See, there's levels to this, okay? There's a level of being able to teach something. There's a level of telling people they got to pay you for you to teach it. I get people who reach out to me often and say, well, Dre, is it possible that I can get on a call with you and ask you some questions or get some information about this and that? And I'll say to them, yeah, but I charge for my time. And I'll get people who, every once in a while, I get somebody who will hit me back and say, what you mean? I got to pay you to talk to you? And I'm like, hell yeah, motherfucker, you got to pay me to talk to me. Why? Because I'm at least at level 4 of the levels of expertise. You got to pay me for my knowledge. And I'm willing to ask for the money. I don't even ask for it. I demand the money. Or you want to talk to me, you want to pay me. You don't want to pay me, we ain't talking. Period. Now, you don't have to talk to people like that, but you must be willing to ask for money if you want to be at level 4. If you are not willing to ask for money and then get the money, you are only at level 3. Okay? In order to get from level 3 to level 4, you must ask for the money. Is everybody clear? Until you start asking for the money and getting it, you are only at level 3. Level 4 people ask for the money and eventually you start getting the money. This is selling. You go to them. Okay? So you go to them, you initiate the conversation. They weren't even thinking about you. I'm not talking about necessarily people coming to you. Like that example that I just gave is really actually more of a level 5. I'll get to in a second. Level 4 is when a person who doesn't even know who you are, all of a sudden they hear about you. Why? Because you're doing things to advertise and market yourself. Okay? This here is interruption. You are interrupting people's lives to let them know about what you're doing, and they weren't even thinking about or looking for you. That's what you do at level 4. You go to them and you start the conversation. So when I was a teenager, actually even after my teen years, so let's say I was like between 18 and like 21, me and my friends growing up in Philadelphia, where I'm from, we would go out to the malls. We would go to like county fairs, parks, sports events, South Street in Philly. And we would have an ink pen and we had some paper in our pockets. This is before we had smartphones. And you know what we'd be doing? We were going out to talk to girls. Why? Because we're trying to meet girls. And what we would do, these girls weren't looking for us. They weren't expecting us. They didn't know who we were. We would go and initiate the conversation. We see a girl we're interested in. We go up and talk. We go and interrupt that girl from whatever she was doing and start that conversation. That's this right here. You go to them. You got to go to them and interrupt them in order to make the sale. Another thing we would do around that same age bracket is we would go to the mall and we would ask for applications at jobs that we want to work at. So the music stores, the sneaker stores, the movie theaters, and maybe a food place, wherever. We were just trying to get a job because our parents were all like, yo, you got to get a job now. So any extras that you want outside of food, clothing, shelter, you paying for it, we ain't paying for it anymore. That is us going to them. You must develop this ability to go to other people to make the sale. This is when you start being able to write your own check. All right, so any of you out there who likes the concept of unlimited income potential, any of you ever heard that phrase before? If you haven't, you have now. Unlimited income potential is based on level 4 abilities. Your ability to go to another person, interrupt them, and initiate a conversation in which you will ask for the money. Got it? Then there's level 5 of the 5 levels of expertise is you are still selling, but they're coming to you. You're at level 5 expertise when you have people coming to you and asking you, how much and how do I pay you for what you have? This is level 5. This is when people are coming to you. That means, and the key to level 5 is when you have brand power. In other words, your brand is so strong, your name is so known to a particular audience. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be worldwide. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be McDonald's. You don't have to be, who's a world famous person. You don't have to be Jeff Bezos. You just have to be famous to the people who want to buy from you. All right, that might be 2,000 people. If you're famous to 2,000 people who are paying you enough money, and there's enough of them who want to pay you, all right, you can get rich just right here. You can make enough money for a living to pay your bills, food, clothing, shelter, take care of your family, off 2,000 people at this level, depending on who they are and what they're selling, and what you're selling, what they're buying. This level is the level when they're coming to you. They know you, they heard of you already, they come ready to buy. They just need to know how much and what do I get. Doesn't mean everybody's going to buy, but they know who you are. That's this level right here. So an example of that would be somebody like Barack Obama. All right, he's that famous. He's the president of the United States. Anybody who's a president who's alive, Trump, Obama, anybody close, Hillary Clinton, Bush, all these people come to them. They don't have to go sell themselves. Like Barack Obama doesn't have to hit you up and say, hey, I was the president. You might have heard of me. I got this thing that I can offer. He don't have to do that. All his calls are incoming. Everybody get it? You're at this level when all your calls are incoming. You don't even have to go and try to sell anybody. You don't have to go to them. They're coming to you. That's this level 5. Very few people ever get to level 5. To myself, I spend a lot of my time at level 4. Every once in a while, some level 5 stuff happens. I would say of my entire business, I would say 100% of my business, I would say 90% is level 4, 10% is level 5. 10% of the time, I get somebody who just comes to me and says, Dre, I heard of you. I want to buy from you. What you got? 10% of the time. The other 9 conversations I have where anything gets sold and any money gets made, I initiated the conversation. I started it. Now, ideally, all entrepreneurs, we want to be at level 5 to where all we got to do is wake up in the morning. All we got to do is just answer the phone. Now, we ain't got to dial nobody. They call us. All we do is answer the phone, answer the emails, answer the text, and just collect the money because it's just coming in. We get to decide which money we want to take and which money we don't want to take. All right, that's level 5. Level 4, you got to go start some conversations. You got to go knock on some doors. You got to go ring some phones because ain't nobody calling you. And that's okay. All right. Ideally, we just want to keep working, build up our brand so it's strong enough that eventually we start getting incoming calls. Everybody got this? So that's level 5. So this is like Obama, Trump, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, LeBron James, Serena Williams, Beyonce, Jay-Z. These are people who are so famous that they don't have to go and try to initiate business. Business comes to them. And they probably, you think about somebody like, and even a couple names I just mentioned, a LeBron James, a Jay-Z, a Beyonce, they still go and initiate business. They still go and say, yo, let's do this business deal. Hey, what do you think about this? They still go and initiate business deals. So many of us as entrepreneurs, we vacillate between these 2 levels right here. You got to be very, very famous to get a whole lot of this. But as long as you're willing to ask for the money, you can live here. All right. There are rich people living right here. There are people who make 6, 7, 8 figures a year who live at level 4. Okay. You don't ever have to be at level 5 to make the kind of money that you want to make. I think most people, 6, 7, 8 figures a year, they'd be happy. You can make it right here. Okay. So these are the 5 levels of expertise. And I think it's good that I did this because I think the visual representation of this will help a lot of people understand it a lot better. So the 5 levels: consumer, this is like the college student. Doing, this is the apprentice, the intern, or the trainee who is learning. Teaching, this is like somebody who creates content or a school teacher. You are teaching things. This is the level where you got to have the communication skill. When you get this is when you turn the corner. When you can communicate what you know, that's when you open up a whole new world to yourself. Now, if you want to open up the world of making money, you got to be willing to ask for the sale, which is a big emotional hang up for a lot of people. That's when you get to level 4. You can live right here and be good. Level 5 is when you become famous in your space. Again, doesn't mean famous to the world, famous to the people who you want to sell to. Usually that's because you have a strong brand in your particular niche, and that's when the money is coming to you. All you got to do is just collect the money, just tell them where to send it, and that's that. So those are the 5 levels of expertise. So 2 things for you to do right now. Text me to get my daily motivation text free to your phone every single day. My number is 305-384-6894. I send it out every morning, so just text me. You'll get the next one tomorrow. And go to workonyourgame.com/30 to get started on my 30 days to discipline course. It is exactly what it says. If you want to rebuild that trust in yourself, you want to up your productivity so that you can do more teaching, get more content out there, because here's what content does. Content builds your brand name. More content you put out, the more people know you randomly. I was just leaving my building this morning, as a matter of fact. It was like 5:30 in the morning. The guy sitting at the front desk was like, yo, I was just watching you on YouTube. My content building my brand power. Now, he didn't buy anything from me yet, but he knows me now. Now, that can lead to me maybe going to him and selling him something. You get what I'm saying? So that's communication. You got to have the ability to communicate. Level 4 is when you sell and go to them. That's when you are a willingness to ask for the money. And level 5 is selling, they come to you. That is when you have the power of your brand. So that's workonyourgame.com/30. Up your productivity, rebuild that trust in yourself, finish everything that you start, stop leaving things half done. That's 30 days of discipline at workonyourgame.com/30. The links to my number and to that course are down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre all